Coming up on Messenger, today's episode is all about joy and hope. We're looking at the story of Mary Magdalene, the first to share the good news of Jesus' resurrection. Her story reminds us of the incredible privilege we have to share God's love with the world. Plus, we're joined by Andra Ardiolano, a remarkable student who received the Governor General's Academic Medal. She'll share her journey of faith, learning, and the role of education in shaping her future. You won't want to miss this uplifting episode. Hello and welcome to Messenger. I'm Adriana and I'm so glad you're joining us for another uplifting episode. Today, we're exploring the story of Mary Magdalene, a woman transformed by Jesus and given a special mission. She was the first to see the risen Christ and the first to proclaim the good news of his resurrection. Imagine how incredible that moment must have been. But Mary's story isn't just about that moment. It's about faith, transformation, and purpose. She went from being someone overlooked by society to being chosen by Jesus to share the most life-changing message in history. Her story reminds us that no matter who we are or where we've been, Jesus gives us a new purpose. He calls all of us to share his love and truth. And that connects beautifully with our next segment. Pathfinders are young people learning and growing in their faith. They're developing leadership skills and finding ways to serve their communities. Today, Naomi Zita, a Pathfinder at Bowmanville Seventh-day Adventist Church, is here to share some exciting insights. Let's check it out.
Hey Pathfinders, and welcome back. Today we're continuing our journey through the stories of amazing women in the Bible. This time we're talking about Mary Magdalene. She was one of Jesus' closest followers and played a very special role in sharing the good news of his resurrection. Mary Magdalene reminds us that no matter who we are, we can share God's love and message of his salvation with others. To make this story even more exciting, we'll also be doing a fun craft to help us remember her role in spreading the good news. So, let's get started. Mary Magdalene was a faithful follower of Jesus. She had experienced his power and love firsthand when he healed her. After that, she dedicated her life to following him and supporting his ministry. But Mary's most important moment came after Jesus was crucified and buried. Early on the third day, Mary went to Jesus' tomb only to find that the stone had been rolled away. At first, she was confused and thought someone had taken his body. As she stood outside the tomb crying, someone spoke to her. It was Jesus, but Mary didn't recognize him at first. When Jesus called her name, she finally realized it was him. She was the first person to see Jesus alive after his resurrection. Now, Jesus gave Mary a very important mission: to go and tell the disciples that he had risen from the dead. Mary became the first person to share the good news of Jesus' resurrection, a message that completely changed the world. This story reminds us that we can all be messengers for God, just like Mary. We can share his love, his hope, and his promises with everyone around us. What if you were given a message to share? How would you do it? Well, one great way to communicate a message is by designing a poster. Posters are a fun and creative way to grab people's attention and share an important idea. Now, let's imagine for a second that you're Mary Magdalene and you need to tell the world that Jesus is alive. What would your poster look like? Let's walk through how to design a poster together. Step 1, choose your message. First, think about what you want your poster to say. If you were Mary, your message might be something like, Jesus is alive, he is risen, or the good news is here. Pick a message that's clear and exciting, something that will grab people's attention and inspire them. Next, add a Bible verse that connects to your message. For example, Matthew 28, verse 6. He is not here, he has risen, just as he said. Or maybe John 11:25. I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. These verses help people understand that your message comes from God's word. Now it's time to get creative. Think about how you want your poster to look. Ask yourself, what colors will catch people's attention? Should you draw pictures or symbols, like a sunrise, an empty tomb, or a cross? Where will you put the message and the Bible verse so they stand out? Sketch out your design before you start creating it. Then you want to gather your materials. You'll need a sheet of paper or poster board, some markers, crayons, or colored pencils. You want to start by writing your message in big, bold letters at the top or center of your poster. Then you want to add your Bible verse underneath it. Then it's up to you to decorate the rest of the poster with drawings, patterns, or symbols that connect to your theme. Once your poster is done, think about how you could share it with others. Could you maybe hang it up in your church or school? Maybe you could show it to your family. Take a picture and share it with your friends online. That's another possibility. Your poster is a simple but powerful way to remind people of God's promises and inspire them to learn more about Him. Every time someone sees your message, you're spreading the good news just like Mary did. So, grab your markers and start designing. Let's follow Mary's example and spread the good news to the world. Until next time, keep creating, sharing, and growing in faith.
Thank you, Pathfinders, for that inspiring segment. It's always incredible to see young people stepping up to learn, grow, and serve. Speaking of dedication and learning, our next guest is someone who has truly excelled in her academic journey. Andra Ardiolano is the recipient of the Governor General's Academic Medal, an incredible honor that recognizes academic excellence and perseverance. She's here to share her journey of faith, education, and determination. Welcome to Messenger, Andra, and thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
First of all, how does it feel to receive the Governor General's Academic Medal? What does this recognition mean to you?
Okay, so at first, I was not expecting to receive that medal. No one had told me. So I was doing my best in school, asking God to help me all along. And then on the day we were receiving our diplomas, that's when they called me back and I received the medal. So I was really surprised. I was not expecting that. So it was really rewarding after making many efforts in school, after putting a lot of time to study and to sometimes do some sacrifices for the sake of what I was doing. So yeah, that was really rewarding. But honestly, I know it was God who did all of that because He's the one who helped me all along during my studies. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
What inspired your love for learning? You have so many different interests, from growing strawberries to playing the piano. Where does that curiosity come from?
All right, so personally, I think curiosity is put into the heart of a child mostly by his parents. I think that will also be part of the personality of the child, so some are more prone to be curious than others. But I think a good part of it is what my parents did for me. They gave me a lot of opportunities to grow and to learn in many different topics. So when I was little, we would travel a lot in Eastern Canada, doing mission trips, distributing literature and all of that. So that gave me the opportunity to be able to meet different people, to visit different places, having the opportunity to go to different museums, doing different things. Like when I was little, I enjoyed watching the pianist at church playing the piano, and after church I would go and sit on her lap and be like, "Can I play with you?" So that's how my love for piano started. And then my parents, when I told them I want to play the piano too, they said, "Sure, why not?" And so that's how the parents can put that curiosity into the child's.
You were homeschooled for a big part of your academic journey. How did that experience shape both your education and your spiritual life?
Okay, so that's a very large question. So I'm gonna try to break it down and find the different aspects that can be seen in that question. So in my spiritual life, I believe that if I hadn't been homeschooled, I don't think I would be here today sharing my testimony with you, because the reason why my parents chose to homeschool me was not because I had trouble in school or everything was going wrong. I really enjoyed school. I liked going to school with friends. And since I was just a little girl, we lived right beside the school. So I was like, I want to go play with the other children. So that was not the problem, she's not learning well in school, or that was not the issue. But my parents saw that, unfortunately, I was slowly going away from God, in the sense that I was leaving myself being influenced by the others in a bad way. I didn't do anything terrible, but with some friends, sometimes bad influences, and it's crazy because I was maybe 8 or 9 years old, and that started already hanging out with friends who are making fun of God or things like that. And then it starts putting seeds of doubt in your heart, whoa, is God really that big? Does he care that much for me? So that's how my parents were like, whoa, there's something going on here. I didn't want to be at home anymore, in the sense that I always wanted to be at school, and not because I didn't have a good home. I'm very thankful for my parents, and I love them. But at the time I was like, oh, this is boring to be at home, because there were some things that I couldn't do, things that I had to do. So that's the main reason why my parents chose to homeschool me, because they saw that they were slowly losing their daughter to the world. So on the spiritual aspect of things, that's why I was homeschooled. That's the impact that it had on my spiritual life, to bring me back closer to God. And it's still a journey, still today, to still get to know Him and to grow closer to Him. On my academic journey, while I was in school, I would do my homework. There were some things, of course, that sometimes I had a bit more trouble understanding, but I would do the assignments the teacher gave, and at some point I was done. And I would go and tell the teacher, what can I do? And the teacher would say, well, read or draw while the others finish. So that was something that was a bit slowing down my learning process, that I had to go at the rhythm that was imposed to me. And I understand the fact that teachers have to put a pace at some point, because there are so many students that have different learning paces. So that's how my parents saw, well, we would like her to learn at her own pace. So that's another aspect that influenced their decision to homeschool me. So homeschooling helped me to go on my own rhythm. And if there were some things like in math or science that I would read, because that's the way we chose to do homeschool, we would buy the workbooks that were from the government of Quebec, because in Quebec, sometimes at some point it was hard to do homeschooling, because they would be really by the book and checking everything we would do. So we were trying the more to follow what was closest to what the government would teach. So I would have the workbooks and I would read, and if at some point there was something I wasn't understanding, I could read it again. It's not like the teacher in class is explaining and then you're like, oh, pause, I don't get it, So while I was reading, I could do that and reread, and sometimes I would pray because I would be like, dear God, this is not entering my mind, it just doesn't go in whatever I do. And it's interesting because at some point it would just click and I would be like, oh, okay, this is what it means. So getting to learn at my own pace, to be able to really take the time to not just swallow the information, but to actually digest it. That's what helped me in my academic journey, because later on, it was not just something I memorized, but it was something I actually understood. So I think that's what helped me a lot.
Faith plays such an important role in life. How have your Christian values influenced the way you approach education and everyday challenges?
While I was homeschooled, there was a point where at some point I had to see my mom as my teacher. It was not only mom, but she also had to be my teacher, and that was a big point for me, in the sense that it was hard for me to accept her as my teacher. So there were some times I wouldn't understand well, and she would be trying to explain to me, but I wasn't understanding it the right way. So that was a bit of a challenge for us, but thanks to God, today we have a really good mother-daughter relationship. So at that point, there was a day that I clearly remember. I was maybe 10 or 11 years old. And my mom told me, Andra, you're going to learn for yourself. Your dad and I, we already had our diplomas. We did it for ourselves. Now you need to do it for yourself. Don't study for us. Study for yourself. And that's when it clicked in my mind that I saw, hey, that's true. What I'm doing right now, it's not good. I'm not going anywhere with this. If I want one day to have a career, I need to start studying and learning now. So that was a turning point in my life and in my way of seeing education. That's when I saw, okay, I'm not going to school for my parents. I'm going to school for myself. I'm learning for myself. So that was a really big turning point. And the Christian values that go all around that is that you see how God gives us the choice. We have the choice to study or to not study. We have that freedom to decide what we want to do. And yeah, those Christian values, they're there to help us to learn more, and to be like, what homeschool brought for me was like that family, those family values. I don't know how to say them, but those values that are important. And sometimes I think it's something that's not very prone too much in society today. It's more individualism, but to be able to be at home with your family, to have also friends, but to see that family is very important. That's something that homeschool shaped into me, that desire to myself have a family one day, to be able to put those values in my children's life if I have some one day.
I know you've decided to pursue nursing. What inspired that choice? And how do you see your faith guiding you in your future career?
Okay, so like when you're a child, people ask you, what do you want to do when you grow up? And, there were different things I wanted to do, but it was mostly around education and health. Like, since I was little, I would read, like, anatomy books. It sounds crazy, but, like, and I think my parents saw that interest, because, like, they would buy, like, anatomy books for kids, and I would devour them. I would really enjoy reading them. I would look at, I didn't watch a lot of TV, but there would be this show that was about the human body, and I was like really enjoying it. And even today, as I'm studying nursing, sometimes I go back and watch it because it helps me to have a more visual view of the human body. So I think like that interest in health, I would play the doctor. I had this little kit, to play the doctor, and I would like it so much. I would like to play with my parents, that they were my patients, and that was something that I really enjoyed. So I think that's what inspired me to go into nursing, but also the fact that I really enjoyed health, everything related to biology. I enjoyed science, but also I really enjoy being around people. So I was like, why not combine those two passions and you have nursing? So that's what inspired me to go into nursing. And about how I see it in my spiritual journey, I think that that's what Jesus did in his ministry when he was on earth. I think it's in an Ellen White quotation that she says that Jesus healed more than he preached. So being Jesus' hands and feet, I think that's a very major part of nursing, that you're able to be there for people in sometimes their lowest state, when they're really not feeling good. That's when you can be there for them. And even if in like secular institutions you might not have the right to express your faith, well, the fact that you're there for them, that you're bringing joy to them and comfort, is a way that you can show what a Christian is. And and for another aspect of it, it's not still clear for me, but maybe at some point a short-term mission trip or something like that I could go in a country and help the people that are there. That's something I would also like to do.
You've maintained an incredible academic average. That takes a lot of dedication. How did you stay motivated and manage your time so well?
Okay, so I think that's also an aspect that homeschooling taught me, because I had to organize myself. But what's interesting with homeschooling is that you don't have a strict schedule. You can modify it. You can go with the flow. Like at some point I would be like, okay, we're going to do this and that. But if we're like, okay, there's an activity, we can put everything on pause, do the activity and study back home, or do more the next day. So that's something that's interesting. But that responsibility at some point, it was on me, because as I was growing up, my parents slowly gave me more autonomy, to organize my own things and to study by myself. So that's how I had to organize myself, to make like goals and be like, okay, by early June, I want to finish. So how many pages do I need to do per week? That kind of thing. So that the fact of like organizing myself at a young age, I think it helped me later in my studies to be okay. I need to study it, even though I'm sick of it, I'm tired of it, I don't want to learn it anymore. I need to do it. I want to finish my secondary school. I need to finish it. I need to get this done. So I think that's what helped me a lot, learning to organize myself.
There are so many young people out there who want to succeed academically while staying true to their faith. What advice would you give them?
Yeah, so I would say to put God first in everything. That's really what we need to do, because having the opportunity for education is a very big blessing. Some people don't have access to that because of lack of access to it, lack of money for it. But being able to have the chance for an education is a blessing. But we must always remember that it comes from God, and that He's the one who can help us get there. And when I remember everything that happened to me in the past, and I'm confronted to new ideas now that I'm in college, to things that sometimes people would be tempted to do compromises, like a course that's ending after sunset on Friday that you're like, oh, I need to leave earlier. So putting God first is the best way, I think, to remain true to God, but to success, to succeed in academically, I'm sorry. So, because God said that He will be faithful to those who are faithful to Him. So, if we remain faithful to Him, we put Him first, He will be faithful to us as well and help us while we achieve academic excellency, because that's what God wants for us. He wants us to be the head and not the tail. So, if we put God first, He will help us. And I saw it all along on my journey. As I said, there were some times I was struggling. I wouldn't get it. I would go and see my teacher, because in secondary 5, I went to an adult school. And the way we learned by ourselves, but we could talk to a teacher when we had questions. So there was a specific subject in chemistry. I just wasn't getting it, and I would go and see the teacher over and over and over again, but still it wouldn't go in. And I would pray. I would ask God to help me. And at some point, it popped up. I got it. I was able to understand it. So God is faithful to those who are faithful to Him. So it's important for us to put Him first, because what He wants for us is what's best for us.
That's such a powerful testimony, Andra. Your story reminds us of Mary Magdalene's dedication. When she encountered Jesus, she gave her whole life to sharing His message. Just like Mary, you've used your gifts and talents to make a difference. Today's episode has been a powerful reminder of how God transforms lives. Just like Mary Magdalene, we are all called to share the good news and use our gifts for God's purpose. If today's discussion has inspired you, consider subscribing to the Canadian Adventist Messenger Magazine. You can receive a free subscription through your local Seventh-day Adventist Church in Canada, or opt for a yearly subscription for just $20. You can also support this ministry by becoming an agent of hope. Every donation helps us continue spreading God's love and sharing stories of faith. To donate, please visit agentsofhope.ca, where you can give by debit, credit, Apple Pay, or Google Pay. E-transfers are also accepted at agentsofhope@hopetv.ca. You can also mail a check payable to Hope Channel Canada at 1148 King Street East, Oshawa, Ontario, L1H1H8. Or call us at 1-855-4HOPE-TV. That is 1-855-446-7388. Thank you for being with us today. Keep sharing hope and being a messenger in your community.